and friends, the play you're about to see tonight, The Bundle, we haven't performed for 3 years. It's been revived at the request of Coventry Refugee and Migrant Centre, and we'll be taking it to Coventry tomorrow to mark part of their National Refugee Week. And tonight is the start of National Refugee Week. The story is absolutely true. We know the real life Adila. We keep her identity concealed for obvious reasons. We know her family, her beautiful children. We've attended her tribunals with her when she's gone to plead for refugee status. And she gave us full access to her Home Office bundle, all of her most confidential and intimate details of her life, which she is more than comfortable for us to have included in this play. She has seen it. The school scene that you'll see came about from an interview that we had with a remarkable head teacher of a remarkable primary school in the West Midlands. It's the one that Adila's children first attended when they came to the West Midlands. On the train back from that interview, we both said, we don't need to create any fiction for that scene. What you see and hear in that scene is exactly what that head teacher told us. The Bundle. Once in a time, not so long ago, in a far-off land,
there lived a young girl called Adila.
She was loved dearly by both her father and mother, who knew they'd named their daughter well, Adila, gentle and good-natured.
But as she grew older, she saw that things were not right between her mother and father.
They
fought,
drank,
they argued,
and they screamed
and shouted. And one day her father said to her, "Listen, Adila, you're going to be coming with me. We're leaving Russia, we're going to Chechnya."
Disbelief and bewilderment. But Papa, Russia is my home. I was born here, so was Mama.
Her father's words were like steel splinters in her ear. "Listen, Adila, Mamachka will stay here in Russia. That is her homeland. But you will come with me to my homeland, to Chechnya."
They were going to leave everything and everybody and move to Chechnya. But she only knew Russian. How would she manage there, in the shops, on the buses, in school? Her thoughts were in Russian. Her precious books, even her mama's comfort words, all in Russian.
And so at the age of 13, Adila began a new life in Chechnya.
Life in Chechnya was difficult to master.
Less of an adventure and more of an ordeal.
At first they lived at her aunt's house, her papa's sister, with her 2 cousins. But they taunted Adila when she tried out the Chechen tongue.
They said, "You are not proper Chechen, you don't speak like us, you're not Chechen, rusty bitch."
So she became tongue-tied and nervous. When she said these things to Papa, he replied,
"They are wrong, daughter. I am Chechen and therefore so are you. It follows the father's line."
Now Adila's aunt had 2 boys, and as everybody knows, boys are far too special to help with cooking and cleaning and all things domestic, so this fell to Adila. Often Mamochka had read her the story of Cinderella, and she'd always felt the same rush of relief when Cinderella's fate became a happy one. Now, here she was, a real-life Cinders, with no fairy godmother in sight, and she doubted very much that a handsome prince, who would treat her fairly, was anywhere to be found in this land.
And so life for Cinder's Adila was now one of scouring pots, scrubbing floors, and learning to show respect for the menfolk by standing up whenever one of them entered the room. One day, when she had finished her household chores and thinking she was alone, she sat at the kitchen table and ran her fingers over the oilcloth.
Picking out the imaginary notes in a Chopin melody.
But her aunt saw And that look said,
I would chop those stupid fingers right off now if I didn't need you to skivvy, and that would never do.
and her aunt and her cousins used their vicious tongues to lash and belittle her.
So, our hoity-toity Russian cousin can play the piano, eh? How useful, how necessary. Better to learn to cook, girl. Husband would prefer a bowl of Gaunesh any day over a piano recital, believe me. But you may not choose to get married, you say? Adela, you do not choose to choose. Now, this is a lesson better learned young. Where are you going now? No, you're not leaving this house improperly dressed. What are you now, 14? Men will look. Woman without a headscarf, you will bring shame on this house. People will say, the men folk in there, they cannot control their women. But come a little closer. You've done something? Do your hair. Oh, brother, come and see what this wayward slut of a daughter of yours has done now.
Her father hurried into the room. She could feel his hot tobacco breath on her cheek. He grabbed the length of her hair, buttermilk and honey blonde, and said, "You have got this, daughter."
Oh, only a little, Papa, to give it shape.
What did I tell
But
you?
it was not allowed.
And still you did it.
Papa, it's my hair.
Ha!
See? This is what I have to listen to. Her will needs to be broken.
And with that, her aunt grabbed the length of her hair and tugged, twisted, yanked and pulled until the tears ran down Adela's cheeks.
Now she cries. Oh, she bloody well cries.
No pride, no self-respect. Listen, girl. A true Chechen never, ever leaks tears. You Russian borns. Psst. You must be born with your bladders very close to your eyes.
But things moved on. And Adela enjoyed her time at school. She did well at school. And much to her surprise and her father's pride, she won a scholarship to study at the University of Grozny.
So much cooking and cleaning time lost. She's reading. She's always reading.
3 years passed. And at the end of those 3 years, Adela passed every one of her university examinations. And not one Naxar had gone to grease the palm of corrupt university officials. She had done it all on her own merit. And so it came to pass that Adela was awarded a degree in corporate law at the University of Grozny.
Naturally, this displeased her aunt greatly. So, now you have a fancy piece of paper with your name on it. Well, enjoy it while you can, because I'm telling you now, one day soon, you will do nothing more with that degree than sit on it.
But the Cinder's theme was working its way through her life. She got a job with a firm in Grozny, a good job with a good salary. She had colleagues, the esteem of those colleagues. And more than anything else, she now had a sense of her own self-worth.
And on her desk, an invitation to her cousin's party at the weekend. She already had the dress, it was hanging on the back of the bedroom door, purple with mauve stripes that wrapped around, all concealing and modest, but oh so feminine, and a headscarf to match.
Come the day of the party, everybody was happy and joyful.
Even her aunts and her cousins, oh, thought Adela, perhaps a page has finally been turned.
The menfolk all gathered together and smoked and talked politics.
And the women gossiped and nibbled on halva, apart, as is the custom. And then suddenly a man is tugging on her arm. Strange, against all custom. What?
The menfolk all gathered round.
The women folk moved away.
She called out,
Papa!
but there was no response. Quick, into the car with her.
Where? Where am I going?
You're going to the next village, where your husband's waiting.
No!
Don't, Marker! He won't want to blues.
They were laughing as they bundled up into the night, into the car, stinking of cigarette smoke, synthetic air freshener, the prayer beads jangling on the window screen mirror.
And the car bounced away along the potholed road, away to the next village, where her husband-to-be, Hasu, was waiting. And her aunt sat amongst the womenfolk and gloated.
What did I tell her? She may as well rip that degree into pieces, hang it in the privy now for all the good it will do her. Finally, she's one of us, knocks she. And she reached for yet another piece of halva. Oh yes, there will be children. She's strong and healthy, and her husband, he's a wolf of a man. So the babies, they will come.
Of course, she may not wish to have children.
How exactly is she going to prevent them, eh?
I know, think it if you will, but do not dare ever say it. It's not the Chechen way.
And so Adela's life as a wife began, as little more than human bondage, with her new mother-in-law even sharper than her aunt. Rise at 6 a.m, prepare breakfast for everyone.
And remain standing until we're all seated.
You wait on table.
Speak proper Chechen, damn you.
You clean the house, you water the plants.
And don't think you ever get to leave this house unless you have my express permission.
Sweep the yard. Feel exhausted. Sleep. Feel sick. Oh, stop complaining, will you? You're pregnant, that is all. Do not say these things in front of the menfolk. It's not decent.
Oh, how she loved that child. 10 months. 10 months. And she held it close to her, caressing it gently, breathing in the scent of baby. Brazen even, in her display of motherly love.
That is, until she learned otherwise. What do you think you're doing, daughter-in-law? Carrying that child, Busana, around with you as if she's still attached to you? It's not our way. We do not parade our babies in front of the menfolk. They will feel disrespected, and it will not happen in this house. Oh, and you pray for a boy next time. One girl will do.
1 year later, another baby, another girl. Deshig, the golden one, named after the colour of her hair. But her husband, he was angry.
He was screaming, he was vicious, he was vulgar, he was violent.
Shame on you! You bring shame on this house!
Adela cowers, nestles the new bolt close, brings Busana between the folds of her dress. The baby whimpers and Busana cries as Adela takes her.
Oh, what a shit excuse, how mother you are! Now keep those kids quiet, damn you!
Months pass, 18 of them, and at the end, another bundle. Elbrus, the highest mountain in the whole of the Caucasus.
Finally, a son.
Then, whole new chapter of trouble begins. Very different trouble this time.
Asu! Open this door, I know you're in! Asu! I don't care if you break the whole door down. I don't care if the whole village hears. Asu!
Adela sits in the dark, shushing her babies, as her mother-in-law confronts the caller. What is it? Do I know you?
No reason why you should. But I know your son.
Oh, Hasso? Oh, he's not here at the moment. He'll be back tomorrow.
Found another gambling den, has he?
Hasso does not gamble.
What?
No.
Heard enough if I wasn't so fucking mad. Now, listen, old woman. Listen.
I can't hear anything.
No? Well, I can hear the sound of the wolf pack. And it's getting ever closer, and it's baying for Hassu's blood.
That'll do for a start. There will be more tomorrow. It's from our pensions, you understand.
I don't care where it's from, as long as it ends up back here.
Now Adela knows why there's never any money. For toys, for clothes, for downright essentials. But a plan is beginning to hatch. She'll need her father's help, though.
Papa, I can't carry on like this. This is no life. You know the problems we're having. Hasu and his gambling debts. He owes money to the world and his brother, and I'm afraid for all of us. But I could make money. I could make good money if I could go to Russia and get a law job there.
Oh, it's a big ask, daughter.
Do you think I don't know this, Papa? But they'll listen to you.
I'll have a word with Hasu. And the father did. He went and he spoke with Hasu and with the family. He was gone many hours, but when he returned,
Well,
it went better than I expected. Yes, you can go to Russia.
oh,
But it has to be Moscow, and there are conditions.
of course. The children will stay here with their father.
That way you'll be sure to return. And you will rarely be alone. We have Chechen relatives in Moscow, and they will visit often. And it will only be for a short while. 3 months at the most.
And don't think because you're a lawyer you can go to the courts and get custody of the children.
You try that. We have you committed to a mental hospital for life.
Go to the police if you wish. See what they'll do.
Have a nice fat envelope of notes ready.
You don't understand us Chechens. We settle family matters within the family. That's the Chechen way.
And of course, my son, he could always take another wife.
And so Adela said a painful farewell to the children.
And heaved a sigh of relief at the retreating figure of her mother-in-law and husband, and set off for the relative freedom of Moscow.
But with the words of her mother-in-law echoing in her ear.
They're watching you, night and day. And we Chechens, we have a long reach and slender fingers. Just because you're 1,000 miles away, you will be as visible to us as you would be in our own backyard.
Her life in Moscow. She got a good job. It was a life of working and saving and working, sending money back to Hasu and the family.
But keeping some back.
And all the time, a secret hoard slowly grew and grew.
Until she would return to her husband's home for the very last time to collect her children. She already had the plane tickets, Grozny to Gatwick, a night flight. One way.
With bated breath and a thumping chest, she explains to her children the nature of the adventure they're going to be going on. She has to be wily.
She has to tell lies. We're going to see Babushka in Moscow for a holiday.
This was her one chance of escape, and there could be no margin for error.
Did you pack your backpacks, children? Just a few books and a favourite toy, maybe a cuddly toy. No, Deshi, you can't take the pink pony and the doll. Has to be one or the other. You make the decision.
Stuffing ever more clothes into an already swollen suitcase because they were going to be leaving so much behind. Because they were not coming back to Grozny.
Ever. On the coach to the airport, Adela looks around for familiar faces. There are none. The relief. The children are buzzing with excitement. Adela's calm on the surface, but beneath, seething with tension and terror. Grozny Airport. Passport control. The
Passport.
officials surly. And she thinks suspicious.
Passport!
Yes, yes.
Why so much baggage?
It's a family holiday, 3 children, the UK, the weather. You don't know what to expect. Her voice sounds distant as if it's coming from elsewhere.
Where will you be staying?
My husband has family, cousins in London. The departure lounge, 20 minutes, feels more like hours. Adela's almost numb with shock. The children mute, but trusting the adult.
And then finally, the flight announcement. Passengers for flight 3542 to London Gatwick go to gate 15.
They were off.
settling down in their seats, fastening their safety belts. They were so nervous and tense. But the captain's voice was calm and reassuring. And then just a few moments, and then with a slight nudge, the plane begins to move forward onto the runway, slowly at first, with gathering speed, ever faster and faster until takeoff, and they're lifting high into the night and towards a new dawn. Meanwhile, in London, the first ministerial meeting, creating the hostile environment. Home Secretary, what is the precise purpose of this meeting?
The precise purpose of this meeting, Douglas, is to get the immigration figures down.
Well, such a complicated issue, immigration. So many different categories, you see.
Forget the categories, Douglas. Just get the numbers down. Don't you read the Daily Mail?
Well, we can't have the EU categories anymore, no, of course. So, I suggest that what we ought to do is to create a hostile environment.
Oh, I like the sound of that. How do we begin?
Well, imagine you are an asylum seeker.
No, I'd rather not.
Well, if you were, the first thing that you would have to do on entering the country is to put in a claim. And of course...
It's refused.
Precisely. Now, you are now in a legal limbo.
Oh, I like the sound of that. But why?
Well, you've now got to lodge an appeal.
No, I do not like the sound of an appeal. Neither will the Murdoch press.
But you see, by lodging an appeal, you are admitting that you are here de facto illegally. Because if you were here legally, you wouldn't have to lodge an appeal.
I like the sound of that.
Now, they will all want refugee status, naturally, because that gives them the right to stay here for 5 years and doesn't cost them anything. But supposing we decide that we'll recognise them as asylum seekers, that means we'll have to issue them with a DLR. Oh, a DLR, a discretionary leave to remain.
Leave to remain. That's positively Kafka. Carry on.
Well, the DLR gives them the right to stay here for just 2.5 years, not 5, just 2.5 years. It doesn't cost them anything when it's first issued, but of course they're going to be here longer than 2.5 years, what with their tribunals and court cases, so then the DLR has to be renewed. And that's when it's going to cost them.
How much?
£500 per person. And everybody has to pay, so that a woman arriving with 3 children would have to pay £5,000.
How are they going to manage that when they're not allowed to work?
With a great deal of difficulty. And they only get the barest minimum of state support.
So we could even start to make money out of them?
Good Tory economics, Home Secretary? Now, can I get you a coffee?
White, no sugar, just like the Daily Mail. Run this DLR thing past me again.
Well, the discretionary leave to remain gives them the right to stay here for 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, it has to be renewed. That's when we charge them. And you would have to pay, woman with 3 children, £5,000.
I am really liking this, Douglas, although I have to say I don't fully grasp it all.
Neither will they, Teresa.
Oh, Douglas, you keep cutting the figures like this. You can call me Tessa, because I shall triumph.
Triumph, Teresa.
I shall march into cabinet with the front page of the Daily Mail supporting me. Dance, Douglas.
Oh, all right.
I love to dance.
Teresa, that's quite all right, that's quite all right. I'm not a dancer. Save it for the Tory party conference. They like that sort of thing. Touchdown at Gatwick.
The children befuddled with sleep. A dealer, adrenaline fueled. Funnel into the system. Enter the queue. Passport control.
Passports, please. Go. That's fine, thank you.
She's astonished. He's pleasant. He's even pleasant when she tells him she's here to claim asylum. He issues the immigration card.
Now, this is the immigration card. Now, read it carefully.
Yes.
Get help with it if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
It must be filled in and it must be accurate.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Do you have anywhere to stay?
They have a friend in London.
Their sole worldly belongings are now coming through the rubber flaps of the carousel. Round and round it goes. Miss it, you have to wait for it to come round again. They are amongst the last to leave the baggage hall. A dealer with 2 heavy suitcases, Busana with another case, and Deshi bringing along a tired little Elbrus in the rear. They make for the sign that says, Arrivals. The children are tired and confused. Mummy, is anybody going to be meeting us, Mummy?
Friend, I told you.
Does this friend of yours live near the airport?
She's quite close, yes.
Are we going to be living with this friend of yours?
For a short while.
Mummy, Elvis wants a wee-wee.
Deshi, you take him, please. Busana, stay here till they get back. She checks her phone. No message.
In the
Sends a
arrivals
text.
hall, she looks for a face that she needs to see, but it's not there. She waits. 1 hour. 2 hours. Anxiety becomes fear.
The friend will come, she assures the children. And then suddenly, a shudder and a beep. Finally, a text.
Sorry, went to wrong airport by mistake. Went to Heathrow. On my way now. See you soon. Love and kisses. Khalid. The children are frightened. Mummy, this friend of yours, is it a woman or a man?
A man.
A man? We're going to the house of a strange man.
Yes.
How did you meet this man?
Online. That's how a dealer and Khalid met. In Moscow, she'd been cunning, had found ways. Khalid, already a UK citizen and living here in London, he wanted to meet. Why not? Her choice this time. At first an electronic affair, Skyping and typing. She likes what she sees, as does he. She likes what he writes. She feels he's equal. Trust grows, love grows. In Moscow they meet. Bliss. They talk, they connive, they conspire for freedom, for a life together with meaning, here in the UK.
They move into Khalid's bedsit. It's small enough for 1, but for 5. The children sleep on narrow mattresses pushed against the wall. When Khalid, he works late every night, so in the morning he needs to sleep in. But in the morning, the children are up first thing, shouting and playing, and the dealer needs space, time, to reorganise her life. Time to decamp, to a hostel near Heathrow, for people like them.
A terrace of dilapidation and despair. A dealer and the children in one room, a shared kitchen where a man sleeps, blocking the door, locking the door, no
Sandwiches.
access.
Sandwiches. They live off nothing but sandwiches. A dealer and the children. And the place is crowded. The bathroom is filthy. A dealer's the only woman there. Months pass.
And then the offer of a house. Somewhere in a northern city, one she's never heard of, that there is a street with a house where she could begin afresh.
Safe. Meanwhile, the second ministerial meeting, creating the new initiative. Come along in, Shona.
Thank you, Minister.
Can I get your coffee?
Oh, yes, please, black.
Sugar?
No sugar.
Here we go. My old regimental mug. Right, now, Shona, immigration.
Yes, well, my predecessor, Douglas, he had devised a strategy which I thought...
didn't work. Look, Shona, new minister, new initiative. I want a 20% reduction in immigration by the end of the year.
Franchise out more services to private agencies. For example, G4S, Circle, Clear Springs Ready Homes.
Good.
They take responsibility for both dispersal and disposal. They make money, and we have no direct responsibility for any part of the process.
Good.
Then we can begin on the categories.
No categories. Listen, Shona, there's only one category. A body arrives in this country uninvited with no financial means to support and demanding help.
Well, I admire your sense of clarity, Minister.
It's needed.
Ooh. Ooh.
Something the matter, Shona?
Ooh. Is this coffee?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to warn you. I'm afraid it's out of a jar.
Oh.
Well, you know, austerity cuts all round. We've all got to take our share. It is free trade,
No,
though.
it should be fair trade coffee.
Whatever. Now, Shona, supposing we say that we won't take any immigrants, refugees, asylum, whatever, from any country that we trade with or seek to do trade with.
You mean?
I mean, countries such as Bahrain, Arab Emirates, Turkey, Nigeria, and all those ambiguous places that don't seem to be one thing or another.
Ambiguous places, Minister.
Yes, places like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Chechnya, that sort of place.
Minister, they boil dissidents alive in oil in Uzbekistan.
They now become a dissident.
What about freedom of expression?
Think of the trade figures. It's a harsh old world out there. You need to man up, Shona.
Indeed, Minister.
Now you let me know how many fewer immigrants or that sort. How many fewer of those we will now not be taking because we're not taking any from such countries as I've listed.
Are you saying that our refugee policy is to be driven by a board of trade?
Excellent, Shona. You've got the new initiative in one.
But what about humanitarian principles?
Oh, for heaven's sake, write an anguished letter to the Guardian if you wish, but let me have those figures by Friday.
But Minister!
Listen, Shona. Let me put it to you like this. Supposing you had to choose between waving a plastic flag for a few hours at some tin pot dictator having a victory parade or taking a bath in boiling oil, what would you choose?
Well, put like that.
Precisely. Now you let me have those figures by Friday, otherwise it'll be worse than boiling oil, believe you me.
Yes, Minister. Oh, Minister! Have you thought about having giant wave machines in the channel to help drive those small boats back into Calais? Or we could export our asylum seekers to some remote Atlantic island for processing?
Excellent, Shona. This is what we need. Blue sky thinking, new ideas, new initiatives. Well done, Shona.
I was being ironic, Minister.
Geoffrey, send up a pot of decent coffee, will you? The Secretary for Waffle and Social Concern has now left the building.
Adela? Good afternoon. I'm the welfare officer from CPPP.
That's charitably privatised provisional provider. And on a 0 hours contract.
Now, this is the property, and if I remember rightly, the key does stick a bit. Oh, there we go. I'm afraid the previous occupants left it in a bit of a state. We've done what we can to make it habitable.
You might need to open a few windows, get a bit of air going in here. Now, we never know what people might already have by way of furniture, etc. I'm guessing you don't have anything at all. No? Nothing? Well, you can always put a throw over this sofa. And as you do get your own bits and pieces, this stuff can go out. You just put it in the front garden. It gets collected eventually. Now, I do need to warn you, the previous occupants, they left in a bit of a rush, didn't bother to tell us quite a while before we came and checked. And they'd left food in here, so we had infestations in the kitchen and elsewhere. Rats, cockroaches, we've had the teams in to fumigate. Now, Adela, bit of a checklist for you to get started on. How soon? As soon as you've only got 3 months, you know, to get things going. Righty-o, here we go. Arrange for an Azure card, find out which shops you can use it in.
And photocopy everything.
Register with a GP, get the children into a school, they'll need a uniform.
And photocopy everything.
Find the local food bank, find the local charities that'll help you out with household goods, etc. Apply for refugee status.
And photocopy everything. And all this is to be achieved with only a bare knowledge of English and no access to the internet.
Here, bundle. You understand?
Meanwhile, the house has to be maintained and kept clean. And the children, well, they're beginning to miss their friends back in Chechnya. Carl needs visits help, but they're still wary of him. And little Elbrus is pining for his abandoned noggin.
School, that's what the children are needing. For Elbrus, something entirely new. At 6, never yet been to school. Used his fists, yes, in true Chechen Street style, where all the boys are urged to fight. Held a pencil? No.
The school, it's an oasis of learning and love, a coming together of the dispossessed from all over the world.
So many young lives withholding their harm, their hurt turned inward, but here, safe, valued, fed, a flicker of contact, a glimmer of trust, connection made. Put your hands together, together, together. Put your hands together, everyone. We are here together, together, together. We are here together, everyone. Yay! Well done, you two. What a treat for all of us this morning. A song about everyone together and a dinosaur dance. Thumbs up for you too, everybody. Now, it's time for you to get back to your classrooms, but I do need you to be as quiet as mice, so we don't wake up any sleeping dinosaurs on the way back. Oh, and have a lovely day, all of you. If I could have the senior management team in a huddle, just want to check we're all on the same page for this inspection today. Look, I don't want anybody to worry. We're going to carry on exactly as normal. He's going to see us just the way we are. Oh, I am so sorry I've had to put us in this room with no windows, but the
No, that's quite
situation...
all right, Miss Price, that's quite all right. Right, I've got all the essential details here for your school and the nature of your intake, your social footprint, so to speak.
You have?
Yes, you have 248 pupils.
Speaking 40 different languages, 3/4 are on free school meals.
No, I have done the figures. It's 72%. And I do see that you have a high rate of mobility.
Churn.
I beg your pardon.
Well, that's what we call it, churn. For example, it's only mid-November now, but we've already lost 27 children since September and we've gained 18. That's our churn. It's our rolling turnover.
Well, yes, it is a very high rate of churn, as you put it, I do admit. And I can see that there are problems here.
Can you? Can you really? The parents of these children have nothing. Nothing at all.
Are they local?
Some, but most are from the London boroughs.
London?
Some of the London boroughs, they pay our city council to take these people. 3 months rent up front. And at the end of that 3 months, they still have nothing. They have no home, they have no income, they have no bank account, which of course brings us to the first hurdle. Because they don't have a bank account, they can't claim any state benefits. And they may not have the right paperwork anyway, passports, immigration papers.
Why not?
Well, if they've come in on the back of a lorry, the traffickers may well have stolen the passports. And sometimes they just give them the wrong papers at the immigration ports.
It happens.
Oh, it certainly does. That brings us to the second hurdle. Because they may not have the right paperwork, the landlords round here can charge the highest possible rents for the worst properties. Are you still with me?
Yes, do go on.
Then there's a third hurdle, employment. Well, the only work these people can get is cash in hand, sundry labour, car wash, scrap metal, nail bars for the women, and worse. Much, much worse. And then there's a fourth hurdle. Loads of the schools around here, especially the secondary schools, they won't take these children because, of course, they may well be low achievers and they've got all manner of social and psychological problems. All that does is bring their Ofsted ratings down.
Look, Miss Price, as I said, I do understand that there are problems, but there is a system.
A system. Can I tell you something? When I first came to this school, I made the most dreadful mistake. I arranged for a non-uniform day.
Oh, Dress Down Friday. Well, they are popular.
Yeah, it was our children in need day and we'd had them at the previous schools I'd worked at. But here, I made the most awful error. Do you know why?
Well, let's see. Yes, I think I can get what happened because normally pupils pay for the privilege of coming in no school uniform and well, yes, you know, just a little bit of money goes into the school kitty, but yes, I can well imagine from what you said, these pupils, or at least their parents, couldn't even afford that small amount. Am I right?
Do you know I'd worked that much out for myself? Yeah, I knew we couldn't charge them, but come the day, they all turned up in their school uniforms.
Perhaps they didn't understand the concept.
They didn't have any other clothes to wear. These are the children in need.
Look, Miss Price, as I've said, there is a system, you know, an educative norm, and it has to apply to all schools across the country. And it is my job, my responsibility to see that those norms are, well, that they're realised. I don't have the...
Initiative. It's such a luxury item these days.
Indeed. Well, now, moving on, as indeed we must. Now, the National Phonics Test in Year 1.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you agree that is a basic educational building block upon which so much subsequently depends. And Ofsted insists that pupils in Year 1 doing the National Phonics Test achieve highly.
We got 67%.
Achieve highly.
Well, I'd have thought 67% was quite high, or at least getting there. Especially considering one of the children's a former Congolese boy soldier.
Oh, Miss Price, really? In Year 1, age 5? I don't think so.
He was probably 9, but it's where we needed to place him. It was an achievement getting him to speak.
Whatever. But as I say, Ofsted require that pupils doing the National Phonics Test in Year 1 achieve highly, and achieving highly in Ofsted terms is getting 90% or above.
I see.
You barely made satisfactory.
Well, you're satisfactory. That is something we could build on at this school.
No, satisfactory. It's a category that's been phased out.
So I understand why.
It leads to complacency.
So satisfactory doesn't actually mean satisfactory anymore.
In a nutshell, yes.
So in spite of the tremendous achievements at this school and our children overcoming the most formidable obstacles, my school
Is
is
still not achieving the nationally required standards. I'm sorry, Miss Price, but there it is.
So am I.
Right, now, moving on,
Mm-hmm.
as we must, when I spoke to the school secretary about speaking to your family liaison officer,
Yeah.
she told me she was off premises, but her schedule here
No,
clearly...
no, she is off premises. She's doing her job, liaising with families. She's taken a group of them down to the bank this morning to try and get bank accounts opened. They've closed all the local branches around here. It's a 40-minute walk to the nearest one. Then it takes over an hour to process each application. She's under tremendous pressure.
Yes, but if the schedule could be amended so that it reads correctly. It's a small point, but these small points add up, as I'm sure you understand, Miss Price. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll just go and get myself a glass of water.
No, I'll get it for you.
That's quite all right, Miss Price.
No, it isn't all right. This is what I tried to explain to you this morning. It's why I had you arrive at 7:30 a.m. It's why we're sitting in a windowless room. Your suit.
My suit?
The children see a strange man in a suit going through school records. They'll tell their parents. They'll assume you're from Customs and Immigration. I wouldn't have a child left in this school tomorrow morning. So you see, just had to use my initiative.
When you could stay, why would you try? When you could walk away, why should I care? When you're not mine, why would I care? When you're not even my crush, my touch. When you could die, why would you bother to find something kind to say? Why would you bother to...
With the children all at school, the house is empty and quiet. Adela comes down into the kitchen. She makes herself a cup of coffee, and immediately she feels sick. Hello, Adela.
Khalid, I think I'm pregnant. In fact, I know I am.
Oh, but that's good, isn't it, if you think? A child of ours born in the United Kingdom.
I haven't said anything to the children yet. But Sana, she could have problems with this.
No, I'm sure as soon as the baby's born, all of the children, they will love it, believe me.
And so Adela goes out to find buckwheat flour, freedom and dumplings, and make a doctor's appointment on the way. Ardy-doo, dardy. Ardy-doo, day. She listened as he sang and the greenwood rang. Mr. Crab, step to room 12, please. Mr. Crab, step to room 12. She listened as he sang and the greenwood rang. And he, Mr. Crab, step to room 12, please.
Oh, coming, Doctor, you should see it back there, chock-a-block. And there's kids running riot all over the place. There's no parental control these days. I had to clamber over one of them to get here.
Well, you're here now, Mr. Crabster.
Doctor, the name. It's not Crapstock, it's Clapstock.
Oh,
Clapstock.
I am so sorry. Let's get that changed for you on
You have
the
to tell me every
system.
time, it don't make a blind bit of difference.
Now, Mr.
Oh, here we go. I never had this trouble when old Dr. Edwards was here. I could turn up on the same day and get an appointment then. And those cards that they had, they never got my name wrong, not like these damn computers.
Right, Mr. Clap, as in applause. Clapstock. What can I do for you? I see you've only recently seen Dr. Ali. He put you on a 3-week course of treatment. You're barely halfway through it.
Oh, that's it, is it? Got to suffer another 10 days of agony before anyone will so much as look at me.
Mr. Clapstock, I do have a very busy waiting room.
Tell me about it. As I said, it's chock-a-block out there and... gotta say it, most of them back there, they're not English. And I'm not talking about the blacks and the Asians, oh no. We're stuck with them, it seems, they're here to stay. I know, it's supposed to be free country, but you can't talk about what's under your very noses. I'm talking about the Poles and the Romanians and that lot. Now, I thought we voted for that lot to go, but there don't seem to be much going taking place, if you ask me. Seems to be just as much coming. Well, I sat back there and close by the young woman I caught her name, Adela. Her name is. There's with 3 kids, they've all whittering away in some godforsaken language, and there's got another one on the way, so that'll be 4 for us to look after, and the bloke who she's with, he's foreign but different foreign. Adam, I wouldn't wonder, Carleen his name is, and they're all here getting free prescriptions on her and
Mr. Doctor, will you please keep your head still? I'm sorry, I should not have shouted. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's it, shout at me. Someone in my condition. Someone who's worked 50 years for a pension he can barely live off. And Howard Joyce, she used to be a press operator at Everard's when he was there, of course now it's gone. But has been off her legs for about 4 weeks, they can't get a doctor to come out and see her. And the council knows it's the damn that causes the legs to swell up like balloons, but are they bothered? Oh, no, they're not bothered, couldn't give a damn. Not so long as the likes of that Adela and Tommy Taliban with her to come in here, getting more. Oh, no doubt they've got a lovely flat, paid for by the council, furnished by the government, and it's all coming out of our pension money, and they keep coming and coming and...
Miss Finn, come and take a seat, come and take some deep breaths. Come on.
Oh, no, doctor. It's not me breathing. It's what I keep trying to tell them. It's bile. It's bitter bile. It keeps coming up all the time. Bile. Oh. This is it. The day of Adela's tribunal. The courtroom. The day she appeals for refugee status. Now, if she's lucky, she will get it. And that will give her 5 years. 5 years without having to keep scratching around for Home Office funds. 5 years. And at the end of those 5 years, she will have to apply again. And if she's lucky a second time, she'll get another 5 years, making the magic figure 10. 10 years before she can even apply for British citizenship. And she knows she must keep her copybooks spotlessly clean, because they will look for the slightest excuse. Adela's bundle. No, not the delightful little girl she carries in her arms into the tribunal, into the courtroom. Adela's bundle is a brown manila folder, stuffed full of documents, details of her life in Russia, details of her life in Chechnya, but overwhelmingly details of her life here in England. Photocopies of school reports, head teachers' reports, therapist reports, social worker reports, photocopies even of prescriptions and railway tickets, all here in her bundle. Adela's future, and that of her children. Adela's life, all dependent upon a Home Office stamp.
The place is heaving with humanity. So many from so far, seeking to understand, to be understood. Adela sits in a small side room, her Mackenzie friend, checking and rechecking her story for consistency, for comprehension. Once in session, Adela alone will conduct her fight, under the gaze of the judge and the slicing scrutiny of the Home Office lawyer.
The Home Office lawyer's questions dissect. Well, she's Russian, isn't she? So why can't she just be sent back to Russia?
It's not possible. I would be found there.
But she's Russian. It says in her passport that she's
You
Russian.
please check the passport in the bundle. It is written in Russian, but it says citizen of Chechnya. All children of Chechen fathers, they are Chechen. It's not a matter of geography. Please understand this.
Then why can't she just avail herself of the authorities over there? Go to their law courts, get protection from their police.
Adela takes a deep breath, foraging for the words, the language still freshly forming on her tongue. And here in the UK,
You think you have corruption sometimes in your place. They are as pure as spring water as compared to what I know, what all Chechens know. There, justice, protection, it has to be purchased and the cost is high. The price of not paying is even higher.
The judge listens carefully. He asks, what do you think would happen to you if you were returned to Chechnya?
I would be killed very quickly. I wouldn't last a week.
But who do you think would harm you?
My family would kill me. I would just be another woman who has brought shame and dishonour on the family name, and my children, my daughters. Oh,
The tears that have been pent up for weeks, for months, now flow down Adila's
I
cheeks.
cannot think of this. My children, they would also pay for my dishonouring. Their father is cruel. Busana, he said, was his favourite. Why then did he rain blows upon her? Restrain her as you would a difficult dog. Sometimes she tried to be my shield, and then we both bled, and I would have to leave my baby daughter behind here. I'm Khalid. I need my life. You people, you can give us our lives.
They left the courtroom, sifting for meaning and nuance in everything that was said. She waited weeks, she waited months. Picture this. Night time in a country area. A car comes screeching down a country track, screeches to a halt. The engine is left running, the exhaust idling into the night air. The doors are flung open, 3 men get out. They reach into the back of the car and they bring out another person, a woman, and they bundle her into a nearby field where they surround her, spitting and laughing and slapping. And then they start beating, and they beat and beat until she falls to the floor. And then they stamp and stamp until she's still. Still laughing and joking, they get back into the car. The door slams, the engine coughs, and they drive off into the night. And there are no witnesses, only the pitiless ice of the stars. And in the morning a crow starts pecking. Ask yourself, what human being would send her back to face that? Or worse, chained to the wall of some filthy hovel, having to satisfy the darkest needs of desperate men again and again, a living hell in life.
Here, Adila will have to sit on her degree, but she has the space to be a wife and a mother, and her children are the hope. For here they can grow and they can thrive and they will learn. How quickly they will learn.
Once upon a time, there lived a very pretty little girl who called her Cinderella. When she was young, sadly, her mother died. Her father remarried, but the little girl's stepmother was mean with 2 ugly daughters. One day, an invitation arrived for kings and queens were holding a ball. When Cinderella arrived at the ball, everyone was dazzled by her beauty. As soon as the prince saw Cinderella, he fell in love with her.
Cinderella and the prince soon set a date to be married and live happily ever after.
Adila lost her appeal.
She has now made another appeal.
She waits.
We wait.
As borders crumble land and sea, born with ideology, the skinhead and the refugee, you need each other now. Rise up, you hopeful man, when women who might try again, and with one voice
We need each other now.
Thank you,
Thank you.
friends. A little bit of house life, Nicholas. Now, obviously, you know, you just wanted to clear off, that's absolutely fine, but anybody that wants to maybe share a bit of conversation with us about what you've seen, any questions. I'll give you a quick update on where Adela is now, because I think that's important. She eventually did get DLR, 2.5 years. That was after 2 years of waiting. That runs out for her next March, at which stage she will have to reapply again, and she will have to find, the fees have now gone up, she will have to find close to £7,000 to take that appeal forward. If she gets that one, she'll go back in another 2.5 years and pay up again, unless we have a major revolution in this country. And after that, she will go again, and then she will have built up 10 years, and then she's got a chance of UK citizenship. Our impression from what the judge said when we've attended her tribunal was that the only thing that was keeping her safe in this country was her child born a UK citizen. And the judge said, I'm not into breaking up families. They were his words on the second tribunal we went to. So that's where we're at with Adela now. She is working a little bit, but she can work a few hours on DLR. She's trained to be an accountant, but she can't afford to go to the next level because she got so much of that training free online, and she works as an interpreter because obviously Russian is her language. She actually stalwartly refused to learn Chechen. It was her personal protest right from being 14. She only allows herself to speak rudimentary Chechen. Her kids now, apart from the youngest one who was born here, the 3 children are now in secondary school in the West Midlands. They're the children. That's the real Busana, Deshi and Elbrus, the highest mountain in the Caucasus. They're the real children there, and they are delightful, and they are completely acclimatised to the UK. In fact, it's a really strange thing, this, because Adela could not cope, as we've tried to show, at all with the privations of life in Chechnya and the strict enforcement of Islam by Kadyrov, the dictator. She couldn't wait to come back and be westernised, if you like. She was westernised in Russia and then forced into this system, and she shed, her hijab, everything went as soon as she got to the UK. Her daughters have gone into hijab because they feel that they want to be part of the Birmingham ethnic community. And you think, well, actually, it's a wonderful thing because the daughters have had a choice. They are here and they can make those choices for themselves.
Can I just add, sending the refugees to the South Atlantic Island, but Shona also said about giant wave machine. Well, this was actually suggested.
It's on here.
It's mentioned on
Priti
here.
Patel suggested it. Yeah, she suggested the giant wave machine. I mean, we thought 3 years ago that things were pretty horrendous. I don't think we've got any idea how bad it was going to get and how much worse it's going to get as well. And we heard the statistic this morning on radio. We've now got, according to IHRMC data, I may have got that wrong, 83 million refugees and displaced people in the world now. Yeah. And I was reading about it a bit this morning. in actual fact, the vast majority of those refugees, regardless of these trashy headlines, do go to the nearest country to where they are fleeing from. It's only a few million who actually try their luck in Europe. Only a few million. And so far, the 26, 27 EU countries, I can't remember how many there are now, is it 25 now we're not there, they have sent just under half of these people back to their countries of origin. So we're in a very, very difficult place. Also, when we first started touring this, we had some pretty hostile audiences, and one in particular, and who said we're not the world's social workers, why should we be taking on these people who are just coming here because of domestic issues, not understanding that people like Adila don't have any recourse to law. She was married into a Chechen mafia family. They were gun runners, they were trafficking people, they were trafficking drugs. You know, she was in a really, really dangerous place. Hands in pocket with the police anyway. No way could she get any protection from the state. And we also had it thrown at us in certain audiences, well, she's not a proper refugee because she came on a plane. And she got all her papers with her. If you think how things have changed now, because Priti Patel actually says, actually, only the legal people coming into this country seeking asylum are the ones that come by plane and who have got all their papers with them. The people who are coming in on the backs of lorries are now the illegals, and they must be turned back. So it's all turned round now in the last 3 years. She's in fact one of the ones that potentially they might like to have her in the country at some stage. Does anybody else want to ask anything, make a comment?
Has Adila been able to feel safe in this country and find work that could in any way match her
No,
degree?
she can't use her law degree here. It's Russian. Although she studied in Chechnya, the qualifications in Chechnya are awarded by Russian universities, so she can't use a law degree here. It's just her accountancy that's keeping her going now. Bits of accountancy and a bit of translation, a bit of interpretation that is keeping her going, plus her benefits. She's not allowed to live with her partner because that breaks Home Office rules. If she was found to be living with her partner, she'd have to start from scratch. She'd have to go right back to square one and start her claim over again because her status would have changed. So, not easy, no. Rajan?
Have any MPs or civil servants had an opportunity to see your production?
We've had people in the audience. Yes, we have. Let's just say we had a prospective MP when we did it in Falmouth. She was standing as Labour MP there. We've also had lots of councillors in, and we've had people who have had direct dealings with the Home Office who have described exactly what is happening at the Home Office. And this isn't a result of COVID. COVID has exacerbated things, but we had people at Coventry, when we did this before for them, who were working directly with the Home Office and were saying, basically, the Home Office is running on a skeleton staff, and it has been for years now, a skeleton staff. Many of them are young internees, and many of them are employed to sit and sift through cases, particularly ones that have been successful, and the people have got leave to stay. Their internees are charged with ploughing back through their bundle and their court case to see if there's any reason at all why those people can't be removed still. So they want they want it brought back into the arena of, is this person here legally? So these people can often live under a real sense of threat all the time. It's never relaxing being a refugee.
Can I just add a word about the barristers? Because we've been to 2 or 3 now, and we got talking to a dealer's barrister on the last time. The barristers are paid by results. So if they fail to get the refugee rejected, they don't get any money. They're paid by results. And
The very young barristers as
very
well.
young barristers.
The ones that are cutting the teeth on
And
this
the
work.
one who was speaking for the Home Office at Stoke when we went to a dealer's second appeal, he said to us after, quite voluntary, I'm giving this up. It's awful work. I can't keep doing this.
And you spoke about an MP. Yes, an MP did tell us that it's almost impossible to get through to the Home Office. It's either an answer machine where you leave messages, or it tells you to go onto their website for further information. And at one time, MPs used to have a hotline to the Home Office. They could ring up and query anything about any refugees or asylum seekers in their constituency. They could raise questions. There was somebody staffing those lines all the time. Now, this MP told us the lines are open for MPs only to try and get through to speak to a real person. It was between 10 o'clock at night and 3 in the morning, wasn't it? Because they're the times, they say, when MPs aren't sitting. And that's the only time that MPs can get through to the Home Office. A personal view, it's not fit for purpose.
They do seem to rely on MPs to be negotiators.
Yeah,
And it's a very big thing for MPs to take on.
yeah,
I think.
yeah. And many of them won't touch it.
No.
They won't touch it. I mean, they don't. I mean, these people have got very little recourse to legal aid, unless legal support, unless they can pay for it or somebody is providing support for them. Most people coming in have a little bit of legal aid to start with, free legal aid. As soon as you've had your bite of legal aid, you don't get any more. So if you don't manage to get your bundle put together and all the rest of it and get through your tribunal, you're on your own then, like a dealer is, when she goes into these tribunals. And she had a lawyer to start with, and she said he dropped me very quickly because he realised it was a very complex case and there was no mileage in it for him. These tribunals are terrifying. They are in proper courts of law, and the judge in full wig and gown is sitting above, flanked by officials, and the person begging, making their case, is down below on their feet, looking up at these bodies. And you think, Adela's English is decent, but it falls to pieces when she's put under stress, as would anybody's. And these people often don't trust their interpreters, because if they're Home Office interpreters, they think that they may not be interpreting exactly as that person wants it translated. They be translating it in terms that the Home Office wants to hear. So there's all this suspicion around the interpreters as well.
And the corridors are full of other families and people. There's people crying, there's people shouting. It's a kind of pandemonium. Really.
Maybe not so during COVID, but then so many people haven't had their cases heard during COVID. So there's a massive backlog.
Have you published the play so it can be used by community groups?
Oh, they could use it. Somebody did ask for it, didn't they? And we did send it off somewhere.
Yes,
but I
we
can't
did,
remember where,
yes,
Rajan, but we're happy for it to go anywhere. We're
Yeah.
happy for it for anybody to use it, yeah.
I was going to ask you that. Are you going to present this play
at different places.
It's been on tour. When we did it 3 years ago, Mike, it was never off tour. We must have done hundreds of performances of the bundle all over the country. Scotland, Wales, Cornwall. We went everywhere
Did this
with
play?
the bundle. Yeah. And then it kind of, like lots of these things, it dropped off the radar a bit. And it's come back this year because of Coventry City of Culture and because the refugee situation is again critical and in the news.
But we will do it anyway if anyone
Yeah.
says, you know, we never charge, obviously. And,
Yeah. But there are things people could do to help. We're not talking money, hands in pockets or anything like that. But if you've got any spare time, you can volunteer at the Welcome Centre in Aylesowin, which is due to start opening again, and go there and meet lots of people who have fled their homelands for all number of reasons. You can use what people need is conversation. They need to chat. They need to improve their English and communication skills. People need to feel normal. The Freedom from Torture organisation, its clinic is based in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham. We've got one there, there's a major one in London. Adela and her kids had to come through Freedom for Torture when they came into the country because they were traumatised because of what had happened to them there. Adela had been beaten from here to Kingdom Come. Why she had a bit of a gap between having the first two kids and the third one, Elbrus, 18 months, was because her friend secretly got her contraception pills. Her husband found them and the consequences were not pretty. His favourite, Busana, the father used to chain her up like a dog to restrain her because she used to go for him to try and protect her mum. So Adela and her kids needed counselling, trauma counselling, when they got into this country. You can go and work for Freedom for Torture. You know, they run knitting groups, they run bread baking groups, they run gardening groups, they run conversation groups, Lego building, toys, you know, playing with the kids, just chatting with people. It's so, so important. So there's stuff that can be done that doesn't cost any money either, and changing our language. Stop talking about trying to separate out migrants, asylum seekers. Refugees will do absolutely fine. Why do we need all the other terminology? We're just using the Daily Mail playbook if we do that. It's language that's meant to divide. So just refugees carry so much more weight.
So three things. One is I've heard about that place in Halesowen and I wanted to volunteer there for a long time, but I didn't know the contact details. I mean, and also the Freedom from Torture, who I actually donate to regularly. I didn't know they had a place in the Jewellery Quarter.
Oh, you've got therapy rooms
So
and yeah.
I'm just wondering, can you make the contact details for particularly the Halesowen one available?
I can. I
That'd
can
be
send it
great.
to you, Clara. I send you
Thank
that,
you.
and I send you the Freedom from Torture people.
So that was one thing. The other thing I wanted to add about to what you said about interpreters. Well, I work as an interpreter, not for a spoken language, but a sign language, and I know that there's been an absolute scandal about foreign language interpreters, and they've been paid absolute pittance, and so they will just get in people who are not qualified,
Yeah.
who can't even actually speak the language of the person. So they'll get in somebody who speaks Serbo-Croat to somebody who is a Romanian speaker, because it's all the same.
Yeah.
And so, and there was a case recently where after a hearing, it actually got overturned because after the hearing, the court-appointed interpreter approached one of the lawyers and said, and the person had thought she wasn't sure whether they were translating what they said properly, and afterwards it was proved that they hadn't, because they'd gone up to one of the people involved in the case and said, there's no persecution in our home country. There's, you know, that it's perfectly safe to send them back. Our government is benevolent and they look after our people. And so I think that Adila and the others, they're absolutely right to be suspicious about interpreters because you just don't know who you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you know, some governments do have people over here that support them. Some of the repressive governments that will support them, that will act as interpreters,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much to try and get people sent back.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third thing I wanted to ask actually was I wondered why you had chosen Adila to present, because I think that she's a very sympathetic character that I think anybody would think that's terrible. She's faced appalling domestic violence. She's, you know, and she's educated, and she's also in a fortunate situation that she's got a partner over here. You know, when you started talking about her, I thought, oh my God, she's going to be sold into a brothel. You know, it was all set up, but it wasn't, because that happens. And so there are so many, and she has a British-born child. And so she's in a so much more fortunate position than so many refugees who may have been child soldiers, who may have come on a boat, who may be, you know, not so kind of, for many audiences, not so relatable. And I wondered if that was the reason you chose her, or is it because you knew her?
We were introduced to her when we were first given this commission, and we thought about, you know, Syrian refugees, people fleeing war, these kinds of things. But those people do get some coverage in the media. This was somebody fleeing a situation from a country that people know very little about, or a state that people know very little about, and also a woman who, for the very reasons you've mentioned, sets up all sorts of ethical issues in people's heads. Should we be taking people like her? Could she not have gone and hidden herself somewhere away in Russia or whatever else? So we chose her because for us it was an unusual story of a refugee. It wasn't, I'm going to use all the wrong words now. It wasn't an archetypal refugee story. It had got something different going on in it. And also, when we said we'd do it, we were straight away, her first tribunal was due. We didn't know her then. We only met her the first time when we turned up at the tribunal and went in with her. She got her new baby with her. And we got through that tribunal, which was incredibly painful because, I don't know, I've never seen anybody beg for their life before. You know, it was, we didn't come out of it the same as we went in there. And then we got to meet Adila properly. Now, not all refugees will allow you into their lives to the extent that she allowed us in. We've got to have somebody who trusted us enough to let us read anything. I mean, I have read the most intimate details of sex life, of violence, of everything. She gave everything to us. And that's a privilege. And not everybody will do that. I mean, you get an awful lot of refugees who really want to keep all that stuff inside. It's theirs. And they don't want to share those painful details. They don't want to relive that trauma. She was prepared, bless her, to relive the trauma and give us, and actually talk to us about some of the things that had happened, like the pulling of the hair and all that stuff, you know, all that came from her. It's just that when somebody's a gift like that, you want to use them, you want to tell that story.
Has she still got the Mackenzie friend?
Yeah. David Forbes. He's still looking after her. Still looking after her.
And where are they based? Is that the national recognised
Mackenzie
organisation?
Friends.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Friends are all over the country. Anybody can train to be a Mackenzie Friend.
Okay.
as long as they don't mind reading incredibly tedious legal documents, they take the place of legal aid for many people. You go in prisons, there's always notices up about Mackenzie Friends who can help the inmates as well. So, yeah, there's no one base for Mackenzie Friends, but you do a BTEC in Mackenzie befriending at various levels, and so you become qualified, and then you can work independently, because some Mackenzie Friends charge. David Forbes has got his Lifeline organisation, and he's got it right next to the Freedom from Torture office in the Jewellery Quarter.
And who owns the bundle of papers at the end? Can the refugee?
The refugee has them, but they're in the hands of the solicitor. And I don't know where they go from that stage, whether or not the person has that bundle, like the house deeds you're thinking of, don't you? When you've paid your mortgage up, do you get them once you've got your full status, or whether the solicitor hangs on to them? I don't know that bit.
Because that's like your background.
That's everything.
That's everything, isn't it? That's your life,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
So they are in fact legal documents
Documents.
that nobody could counter. Or do they have to present every time they go for another?
Oh, every time you go
DLR?
for another appeal, your bundle's there and you've added to it.
Okay.
You've added to it as well. Yeah.
What's happened to Adila's mum?
Adila's mum's still in Russia.
Is she in touch with her?
Yeah. To start with, for the first 18 months, Adila wouldn't communicate with anybody there. She communicates with nobody in Chechnya. Nobody. It's not safe. But she's in touch with her mum in Moscow, and in fact, her mum came over to visit, didn't she? So Adila feels safe enough now. I'm sure her mum knows that it's actually more than her life's worth, literally, to actually give any information about Adila's whereabouts. But Adila's in contact with her and speaks to her regularly. Yeah.
And when you did the research on the hostile environment, can you just give us, like, was it really Theresa May who set it up? I mean, and where is the challenge, or where do you think there's any possibility of reversing this unbearable?
Well, I think didn't
Paul.
Blair start it?
The term hostile environment was first used by the Labour government in 2007.
Was it?
And the first person to use it was Liam Byrne,
Oh.
the guy who left
Yeah.
the little post-it note. So it was actually set in motion by the Blair government.
Wow.
And then it was extended and hardened by the coalition government and now the Tory government. There's so many of these things are.
It's not. It's going to be very hard to dismantle this. I mean, we've been asked on frequent occasions, well, you know, what if Labour got in, particularly when they've got Corbyn as their leader, what do you think will happen? And I just had to say, do you know what? There's a whole department there that's virtually been dismantled, that's running on next to nothing. It's going to be very, very hard. You'd have to start rebuilding the Home Office. You'd have to start rebuilding policies. You'd have to start retraining staff. It's really, really difficult. I don't know how we're going to get rid of this.
Because it feels to me like that opportunity post-Brexit is to do some kind of amnesty, because there's so many people stuck in a system that is dysfunctioning. You know, they'd never get through all of these cases, let alone do it. But I don't know where the impetus for change could come. I don't know where that would be.
No, I don't. Apart from staff shortages in care homes. Yeah, possibly.
I mean, with regard to the hostile environment, the concept, the policy, the history of it, the best book I've read on that, which I would recommend people to read, is Maya Goodfellow and she's written a book called The Hostile Environment, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely full of data, information, the ideology of it, and it crosses all the political parties. It's not party political. It's something that's peculiarly British and has been ever since the 1950s. And it's by Maya Goodfellow. It's a good book. It's a very good book.
And something just to counter some of these headlines, we're wrapping up now, I know. If you find yourself in a dispute or a discussion with somebody about all these people coming over here, you actually could use something that I have just read, which said that actually you've either got to go to 4 massive weddings, 2 massive graduation ceremonies, or 1 massive rock concert to have a chance of actually having 1 refugee in that number. If you think of it in those terms, that's how thinly these people seeking sanctuary are actually spread in our society.
There are 34,000 refugees in this country. 34,000. You get more than that washing about.
Wouldn't even start to fill Wembley, would it?
No.
No.
Yeah.
But they, perhaps the government would say then it's successful, their policy is successful.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they would frown. I haven't got an answer for that one. No. It's humanitarian principles that have just disappeared, haven't they? I mean, anything to do with the Geneva Convention on Human Rights, Adila's got perfect right to be here according to the Geneva Convention on Human Rights. I quote it in the programme, under what ground she should be here. They've just been dismantled.
Is that, Dave, is that 34,000 including all the people banged up in places like Napier?
I believe so, yes, 34,000.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
I mean, this
No,
is
it's
an old
not.
figure. It's about 2 years. I used to quote it 3 years. We used to quote it occasionally when in questions afterwards, about 3 years ago. So it might have changed now, but I can't think it's changed significantly. 34,000.
It said this morning on the radio that at the moment this is the lowest level of resettlement of refugees throughout Europe and in this country that we've had for 10 years now. The lowest level of resettlement. So, and resettlement means if they've got a status, they can actually start building their lives again. The Dubs agreement has gone out the window
Yeah.
for unaccompanied minors. That's not happening anymore.
No.
We only let a handful in and that was it.
That was completely shameful.
Yeah?
And I mean, you know, because our dads came on the kinder transport,
Yeah.
didn't he? Like my mum. And, you know, there's this myth that we've done so much for refugees, we've helped so many children, we've done this, we've done that. It's part of the myth of what England is. And it's a complete pack of lies.
I don't think you'd get kinder transport through now.
No, I don't think so either. Well, I mean, we've actually got an unofficial one, haven't we, with the boats? Everybody just wants to fix them back.
Mm.